That was creepy. It was just another quiet evening at home. My wife, Anna, and I were lounging on the couch, scrolling through our phones. Anna stumbled upon a new trend on TikTok, and her face lit up with that mischievous smile I knew so well. Anna loved playing pranks, and I was often her favorite target. She just laughed, that glint of mischief still in her eyes.
I know, right? Creepy, but kind of funny too. Want to try something like that?
I chuckled nervously. No thanks, I'm not a fan of this stuff. Anna shrugged, standing up and stretching.
Suit yourself. I thought it was pretty fun.
I watched her walk into the kitchen, her footsteps echoing softly. Anna always loved a good scare, but this felt different. As the evening wore on, I settled back into my chair, trying to focus on a book. The house was quiet, and I found myself glancing up every few minutes, half expecting Anna to jump out and startle me. But she didn't. The silence stretched on, almost unnaturally so. I got up, deciding to find her, and suggested we watch something light before bed. As I walked down the hallway, I frozen. There in the dim light, I saw a figure standing at the end of the hall. It was Anna, but she looked different. Her posture was rigid, her face partially obscured by her hair. And that smile, wide, fixed and unnerving, was exactly like the woman in the video. I took a cautious step forward, but she didn't move. "Come on, Anna, stop joking. This isn't funny," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Still nothing. The air around us felt thick, oppressive. I took another step, my heart pounding. "Anna, please, you're scaring me." Then she moved, not towards me, but slowly down the hall. Gathering all the courage I had left, I followed her, my footsteps echoing in the quiet house. When I reached the top of the stairs, I saw the bedroom door ajar. I pushed the door open slowly. Anna stood in the middle of the room, her back to me. Her shoulders were tense and her hands were clenched into fists at her sides. "Anna, please, stop this. You're really scaring me," I pleaded, my voice barely a whisper. She turned slowly, her movements unnaturally stiff. Her eyes. I've never seen eyes like that. They were hungry, predatory. I stumbled back, my heart racing. "Stay away! Please, stay away!" I shouted, panic flooding my chest. But she kept coming, that smile never wavering. I turned and ran. I bolted down the stairs, my mind a whirlwind of terror. I had to get out. I stopped dead in my tracks as I heard a noise from the yard. I didn't want to look, but something compelled me to move towards the back door, leading to the yard. In the darkness, I saw Anna standing there, her back to me again. But what made my blood run cold was what she was holding in her hands. A dead rat. Anna bent down and took a bite out of the rat's corpse, blood and fur splattering everywhere. I watched in horror as the scene unfolded, my stomach churning. She looked up, her eyes bloodshot, and that smile, wider than ever, with blood dripping down the corners of her mouth. I couldn't stay here. I couldn't face whatever this thing was that wasn't Anna. Without hesitation, I turned and bolted out the front door. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn the knob. When I finally got the door open, I glanced back. Anna stood there in the doorway watching me, that smile still etched on her face. I didn't wait any longer. I sprinted out into the night, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I didn't stop until I reached the car, fumbling with the keys in my pocket. As I started the engine and sped away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. She was standing there in the doorway, her silhouette stark against the light. And that smile, that terrifying, unnatural smile. I don't know what happened to my wife. I don't know if she was possessed or if it was some prank gone horribly wrong. All I know is that I can't go back. That smile burned into my memory, haunts me every time I close my eyes. And the worst part is, I can't stop smiling.
This is my first night shift at G-Zoo. My usual job is to observe and take care of the animals here at night. To be honest, this job is quite boring. I just sit in front of a screen and watch them sit, stand, or walk around for hours. I look forward to 8 o'clock so I can feed them. At least I get to go outside and breathe some fresh air. It's strange that there are no other staff here besides me. Maybe not many people are willing to work the night shift. But for me, I agreed because it's an easy job with good pay. Somehow, today the deers look more energetic than usual, constantly hopping around. Hey Tiger growled and the camera No 8 went off, startling me a little. It's probably hungry, time to feed them. Both my hands are carrying heavy buckets of meat. I take the food to the tiger and toss them some red meat. But the tiger just lies there, not even bothering to eat. I get closer and see the tiger lying on its back in a strange position. I smell the stench of blood and start to feel uneasy. I try to stay calm, but it's too dark to tell if the black stripes on its skin are blood or not. Then I notice small bite marks on its lower belly. Suddenly, I hear the sound of banging on the enclosure door and the screeching of the gorillas. I immediately run over, thinking the situation there might be more serious. I run over to the gorilla enclosure. One of them is writhing on the ground, while the other two look terrified. I approach the cage, open the door, and step inside. The writhing gorilla starts to mutate, growing 2 sharp legs on either side of its back, like spider legs. Its teeth are razor sharp, and its green eyes gleam with madness. Then it lunges at me. Fortunately or unfortunately, another gorilla jumps over and takes the bite from the mutated gorilla instead of me. I stagger back, in shock and unsure of what to do. The bitten gorilla starts to mutate as well. Its body swells unnaturally, and its limbs sprout extra fingers with long, sharp claws. The sight is nightmarish. Seeing the madness in the gorilla's eyes, I knew I was facing something far beyond my control. I quickly run out of the enclosure, locking it behind me. The mutated gorillas rush to the door and trying to grab me, but I step back, just in time. Their strength is no joke. This enclosure won't hold them for long if they keep ramming into it like this. When I first saw the tiger lying there, I sensed something was wrong. But I never imagined things would get this bad. I realize I can't handle this situation alone. I need to report this to Dr. Morgan. I never thought this job could become so horrifying. The sounds of banging and screeching behind me and the haunting green eyes make me feel like I'm trapped in a horror movie. I burst into the lab, breathless and desperate. Dr. Morgan, the gorillas, they've escaped. Dr. Morgan looks up from her work, her face pale. We need to act fast. The vaccine isn't ready, but we can slow the mutation process. We grab as many vaccine vials as we can and head out into the zoo. The plan is to inject to the animals and hope for the best. But as we step outside, the scene that greets us is a nightmare. The animals have escaped their enclosures, and their mutations are more evident than ever. The giraffe's necks twist like snakes. The limbs of the crocodile became larger, sturdier, and elongated, making it move faster. From both sides of the elephant's neck, tentacles of an octopus began to sprout, moving eerily through the air. The gorillas are the worst. They move with terrifying speed and agility, their eyes gleaming with malevolent intelligence. We split up, trying to cover as much ground as possible. I head toward the zebra enclosure, hoping to inject the vaccine into them before they mutate further. The zebra's stripes swirl into chaotic patterns, their bodies twisted and contorted. I give an injection to the first zebra, hoping the vaccine will take effect quickly. But as I move to the next one, I feel a sharp pain in my leg. I look down and see a deer who has mutated with its claws digging into my skin. I scream and kick it away, but it is already damaged. I can feel the mutation process starting. I inject myself with a dose of the vaccine, praying it will work. The pain is excruciating, my vision blurs, and I stagger, falling to the ground. I try to stay calm, but the fear keeps rising within me. And as I feel the mutation process beginning in my body, I know this fight is beyond my control. I know my time is running out. Dr. Morgan's voice comes through the talkie like a faint glimmer of hope. Paul, hold on, we'll fix this. But I know it's too late for me. All I can do is hope that the others can stop this epidemic before it spreads further. The last thing I see before everything goes dark is the zoo in chaos. The mutated animals causing havoc and Dr. Morgan's desperate face. The silence of the night is shattered by the sounds of chaos and horror. And I know I've become part of a nightmare with no escape.
I woke up at 4 a.m. thirsty. As I shuffled toward the kitchen, I noticed a light spilling out from Ethan's room. It was strange. Ethan was usually a deep sleeper. I paused outside his door, worried by the unusual glow. As I peered inside, I saw my son standing motionless by the window. "Ethan?" I whispered, trying to rouse him. He didn't turn around or notice me. Instead, he continued to stare out into the dark night. Suddenly, he turned to me and said, "It's time." His voice was a chill ran down my spine. I tried to shake it off, convincing myself it was just a dream or a minor disturbance. I walked back to bed, but I couldn't sleep. The strange words echoed in my mind. "It's time." What did that even mean? The following night, I decided to keep a closer watch. As the clock struck 4:13 a.m., Ethan was once again standing by the window, his silhouette as a ghostly figure against the night. I was about to approach him when I heard it, a soft, deliberate knock on the front door. My heart raced as I hurried downstairs, but when I opened the door, there was no one there, just an empty porch in the moonlight. The next morning, I questioned Ethan about the odd occurrences. He looked at me with wide, innocent eyes and claimed no memory of getting up during the night. It was unsettling, but I had to admit that children often have peculiar dreams. Night after night, the routine persisted. At 4:13 a.m., Ethan would stand by the window and the knocking on the door would start. Each time I'd rush to check, only to find nothing but silence. Exhaustion wore me down, and I started dreading 4:13 a.m. One cold night at exactly 4:13 a.m., as I watched from the doorway, Ethan raised his small hand and pressed it against the window. I froze when I saw a hand on the other side, mirroring his. The fingers were long, skeletal, and blackened with decay. The skin was pale and waxy, like someone who had been submerged in water for too long. Panic surged through me. I reached out to pull Ethan away, but he collapsed in convulsions. I scooped him up, cradling him in my arms, as the room filled with a chilling, familiar, distorted voice.
We can be together again.
It was Marie's voice, my wife who had died a year ago. Marie had suffered from a rare autoimmune disorder that made her body decay while she was still alive. I carried Ethan downstairs, my heart pounding with fear and confusion. At the foot of the stairs stood Marie, or what looked like her. Her skin was rotting, her eyes sunken, and she wore the dress we buried her in. Her limbs stretched and twisted in unnatural ways. It was her, yet it wasn't. Her mouth twisted into an eerily grin.
I've come to take our son home.
No! I screamed, clutching Ethan closer. You're not taking him! Desperation clawed at me as I fled back upstairs, Ethan in my arms. I slammed the door shut and hid by the bed, my heart pounding. Ethan, barely able to speak, said in a trembling voice, "Daddy, Mummy always comes at 4:13 and wants us to be a family again." My mind was spinning. I accidentally looked up and saw a photo of 3 of us hugging each other. April 13th, the day Marie died. How had I not realized it before? Fear seeped into my bones as the door exploded open. Marie's twisted form slithered through the bed, her eyes glowing with a sickly yellow light.
Found you!
She hissed, her voice like nails on a chalkboard. In a desperate attempt, I opened the window to climb over to the roof, trying to escape the house. The air was frigid, and a feeling of hopelessness washed over me. "Ethan! We need to go! Now!" I shouted, pulling him close. But as I turned to climb, Ethan's small hand clung to mine. "Daddy, no! I want to be with Mummy!" My heart broke. "Ethan, listen to me! That's not your mother! We need to get out of here!" Ethan's grip tightened, his eyes filled with longing and fear. "Please, Daddy! I miss her!" Before I could argue further, the temperature in the room plummeted. Marie's grotesque figure emerged from the shadows. Her smile twisted into something both horrifying and triumphant.
Ethan! Come to Mommy!
She crooned, her voice full of malice. Ethan's eyes lit up with a mix of fear and longing. He began to move towards Marie, and I felt a pang of despair. "No!" I screamed, pulling Ethan back with all my strength. "Stay with me!" But Ethan broke free from my grasp, running into Marie's cold, outstretched arms. She embraced him, her face contorted in a sickening smile of victory. Marie's limbs wrapped around us, pulling us both into her icy, hard grip. The window, once a beacon of escape, now sealed us in with Marie's chilling embrace. The last thing I remember was Ethan's terrified face turned calm, his eyes locked on me with a mix of love and fear. And now, we're a family again.